For example, if I should head over to Illustrator, Illustrator is a vector editing program. So for example, editing that I would do with pixels, I'm unable to do that with Illustrator. So for example, let's do a side-by-side comparison here, right? Now if I head over to Illustrator, which is a vector editing program, well, one of the first things I would recognize is that my tool set for editing pixels is different. So I don't really have the tool set to edit pixels. However, the same rules as it relates to layering and layer blending still holds true, though the application of it is a little different because the user interface is different. Now if I look on the right here, you can see where I have this the same layer, and you can see where I also have that lens flare layer on top. So if I should turn on the lens flare layer, you would see my lens flare, which it is right here, and that's my lens flare. Now to set transparency in Illustrator, that is done using the opacity panel, right? So if I head up to window where I can access my panels, and then you will see where I have my transparency panel here, and this is what it looks like. So the transparency panel allows me to do this very same thing that Photoshop allows me to do, which is I can set the opacity of the layer that's currently selected. So there I can make this transparent, or I can use a blending mode here. Now you might notice that the blending modes are quite similar, but you might in other applications you might notice that the blending modes might be different. Majority of digital applications has the multiply and screen and overlay blending modes, and those are going to be the most popular ones that we use in ArchiViz. So if I check my multiply node, you'll notice the effect that it does there, right? And if I use my overlay, you will notice the effect that it does here. Now you might notice it's not quite similar, and that is a little because of how Illustrator treats blacks. Now what we can do is we will use the multiply, not the multiply, we will use the screen. And the reason why this doesn't look so clean is because Illustrator primarily is meant for print media. Therefore it's using, if you go to file, you go to color mode, you realize it's using the CMYK color mode, and CMYK black and RGB black are actually two different values as it relates to actual RGB values. So you want to switch it over to RGB, and then notice how the blacks in that image works with the screen layer transfer mode, right? So there we go. So you realize that, so that is how we get the similar effect even though we are using Illustrator. And the same thing goes for the silhouette that we had in Photoshop. We can use the transparency panel in this case again, and we can go for the screen, and it will automatically get out all of the black automatically.